Chapter 101 Lightning Butts burns egg on Ryan's chest, as he parked the Plymouth Fury west of New Rome. Triton's resort was a large complex on a small hill, built between the infamous Colosseum Maximus and Little Lilith, the city's red light district. Glass domes and tall white spires coexisted with elevated pleasure gardens, tennis courts, and thermal pools, while the wealthiest clients could enjoy an unbeatable view of New Rome's coast. Like almost all properties owned by the Augusti, it embraced a Roman architectural style. Statues of Venus and Mars, the gods, not the genomes, made love on a fountain, right next to the parking lot. Clients walked in through different entrances, based on their status. Most of the clientele walked through a large yet elegant stone archway, while VIPs used a glass elevator to skip straight to the higher floors. Ryan had traded his bathrobe for his usual clothes, though he wore no mask or hat for once. Olivia sat at his side, wearing a blue skirt dress that left her legs and back exposed. A silver necklace glittered around her neck, and a white rose ribbon kept her hair bound. She looked great, but Ryan thought she could wear anything and still dazzle him. "I should come over to your place from now on," she said out of the blue. "No kidding. I could get used to the shock treatment," Ryan mused, but it didn't make her smile. "Or how about we rent something and move in? We should wait a few months to go down that step, yes?" She giggled. "Ryan, if you think you have seen my father angry, then imagine him with empty nest syndrome. It's better I go home after our dates from now on." "What was your dad even doing standing motionless in the kitchen? Asserting his dominance over the pastries?" Her gaze turned distant. "Dad is not well. Sometimes he doesn't move for hours." "Because of his tumor?" She nodded sadly. "That's why he rarely leaves his house anymore, am I right?" I would rather not talk about this right now. I would rather talk about us." Olivia sheepishly joined her fingers, hesitating a few seconds before asking a question. "What will we be, Ryan?" "Someone asked me that before," he replied, thinking of Jasmine with nostalgia. "Back then, I answered a summer fling." Olivia frowned at him. "I don't want us to be a summer fling." "Me neither." Once, Ryan had been afraid of intimate romantic relationships, and the commitment that came with them. The pain that followed their destruction each time he reset cut deep. But for the first time since he had gained his power, he had a partner that would remember him. Someone with whom he could build a relationship lasting through several loops. It was exhilarating in its newness. Frightening, even. He carefully took her hand into his own, and lost himself in her beautiful blue eyes. "Olivia, do you want to be my girlfriend, until time tears us apart?" A pinkish blush spread below her eyes. "You should have asked me that before we slept together, no? You skip a lot of steps. And now I'm doing things by the book." It pleased the princess, he could tell, but her response wasn't what he had expected. "My answer is no, Ryan." The courier opened his mouth in shock. "Come again?" "I want to be your girlfriend until we decide to break up, if we ever choose to," Olivia declared, her face turning stubborn even though her words were music to Ryan's ears. "Not until your power resets everything. I want a serious relationship." "Olivia, you know I will have to reset again? What if I die early, or we can't transfer your mind back easily?" Ryan cleared his throat. "I want something that lasts too, but, well, there's always the possibility an unforeseen death ruins it all. People risk dying all the time, and yet they still make plans for the future, Ryan. Our relationship might need more work, logistics-wise, but we will find a way to strengthen it. I am sure of it." Ryan could tell that she wouldn't budge on the matter, so he did it right this time. "Olivia Augusti, do you want to be my girlfriend?" "There, you have it," she said with a beautiful, heartwarming smile. "Yes I do, Ryan." And so, Quicksave was no longer single. "This changes everything," Ryan said, breaking the hand contact to search for a notebook and a pen he hid in his coat. "What is this?" Olivia asked, as he opened the notebook. "My to-do list of objectives before I achieve my perfect run." After my last presidential mandate, I thought I should write down all my campaign promises to keep track of them. Ryan scratched the fuck the sun line, right between the kill Sipsy and marry Yuki ones. I'm updating the list to account for my newfound monogamy. Curious like a cat, Livia tried to look at the content, but her boyfriend kept the notebook out of reach. Give it to me, I want to know. No, that's private. Give it to me, Ryan, she insisted. No. He felt a chill going down his spine. No, don't you dare. Livia skipped time forward, and when Ryan regained consciousness, she had stolen the list and his pen. So that's how it feels when I mess with people in frozen time, he complained. Are you happy now? A good boyfriend doesn't keep anything from his partner, she replied, before frowning at what she read. Marry Jamie and Ki-young. I only planned to marry Jamie at first, but since he's going to propose to Ki-young soon, I thought bigamy was the only sensible solution. It seemed to make sense to her, but then the next item on the list made Livia glare at him. Fuck the vamp and live through it. Seriously? I have a revenge to take. She isn't that good. Livia was at her cutest when she was jealous. How do you know that? Ryan asked while squinting. Because I do, his girlfriend replied before removing that plan from the list, the way a dictator signed an execution order. In fact, she barred all the fuck and marry goals of the list, except those involving her. A couple's life was made of sacrifices. You truly made a plan for your final loop, Olivia said, as she kept reading. Though I'm a bit worried by the kill list. Well, at first I only wanted to find Len, but I kept adding new objectives, Ryan admitted. It's not my fault if this city crawls with assholes who need to be put down. Bully Luigi, save New Rome, take over the meta gang, cure the psycho condition, blow up the Bliss factory. She frowned. Prevent the lepromachia? Is that even a real word? I'm working on that one. Livia waited for him to elaborate, but skipped to the next objective when he didn't. She grinned ear to ear. Reconcile Wyvern and Vulcan. Now, you're asking for the impossible. It happened once, though it took the city's destruction for it. Ryan thought that though he couldn't date Vulcan due to his promise to Jasmine, he could at least help the genius turn her life around. We can't let things progress that far, Livia replied. I'm kidding, they can reconcile. You've seen it happen? All it takes is Wyvern approaching Vulcan and apologizing to her former partner. She does so after rethinking her choices, usually after Dynamis collapses. So, we can steal 2 cashmere suits with one gun? She frowned at him, suddenly interested. Does Dynamis have a red suit in storage? You will look great in it. I think so too. Olivia skimmed through the list, from the Frelen from her father's shadow to bury my daddy issues, before frowning. Find the alchemist's base in Antarctica. I saw it in the purple world, but I don't know where exactly, Ryan said. Truth be told, he had wondered if this vision had been a coincidence. The Violet Ultimate One had left hints to help the courier, so perhaps it wanted the time traveler to visit this base for some unknown purpose. Some kind of fortress buried in snow and ice. Livia considered the matter thoughtfully. Now that I think of it, she whispered to herself. Could it be Station Orphan? Station Orphan. A story Bacchus told me about the alchemist, Livia replied, before dropping a bomb. He was investigating her before last Easter, and she twisted him. Her. The alchemist was a girl? And here Ryan thought she might have been a lizardman, or a gray Martian. You know a guy who met the alchemist, and you never told me? I didn't think it was important. She replied, a little embarrassed. Thing is, Ryan, my power cannot look into the alchemist. I've tried before, but I can't find a world where I have interacted with her. If she's even a human woman at all. She could have a power similar to mine. Maybe. I'm sorry, I'm blind here. Dad wanted to track her down too, but eventually abandoned that plan after years of fruitless investigation. Bacchus himself wasn't much help either. All he cares about is bliss and contacting his god. Whose nature I now understand better, thanks to you. An ultimate one? Ryan had reached the same conclusion after his talk with Darkling. Bacchus had called God it and thought psychotropics capable of affecting even genomes could help make contact with it. It didn't take a genius to figure it out. What do you mean by she twisted him? He wasn't always. Livia struggled to find the word. Obsessive? Ryan suggested. Deranged, though he hides it well. According to Dad, he used to be well-adjusted before the alchemist got to him. Afterward, hallucinogens and later bliss became his life. His girlfriend shook her head. Even the tales he says are quite confusing. Will he tell them to me too, if I confess my sins? For my heart is full of wicked deeds. No, I don't think so, but you could compare notes and find out. Livia smiled. I have never been to Antarctica. It must be a beautiful place. Wanna make it our next stop for our winter vacations? Now you think like a true boyfriend. She flipped the notebook's page, before blushing upon finding the last objective on the to-do list. Make Livia happy. Livia looked at Ryan with a pleased face, adjusting her hair. What, are you surprised? The courier asked his girlfriend, his fingers brushing against her red cheek. You're part of my perfect run too. It's a good list, Ryan, she said, before hastily scribbling a new line. But you forgot one task. Ryan frowned, as she gave him back the notebook and the pen with a new objective. Be happy too. I thought it would come naturally, he said while putting his items back inside his trench coat. Ryan, almost all the objectives in the list are about helping other people, but never yourself, Livia said. That's very noble of you, but you have to take your happiness into account too. No more suicides will be a start. What? But a glorious death is half the fun of a loop. Ryan protested. Do you realize how many people fail their lives, but make a success of their death? If you reload by dying, then it makes you value your life less. We'll find a better, painless way for you to turn back time. Also, no more drugs. I've seen the stuff you keep in your car, and it has to go. But, no more drugs, his girlfriend insisted. I'm going to clean up your life, whether you want it or not. You will embrace a healthier lifestyle. If you try to make me a vegetarian, I'm dumping you. She raised an eyebrow in a way that Ryan found positively obscene. You're welcome to taste my flesh anytime. I don't taste, he answered, breathing on her neck. I bite. She turned scarlet at his insolence. You have gone too far, Ryan, Livia said, unable to hide her embarrassment. I have to punish you. Mistress is welcome to whip me anytime. I had something else in mind. Her lips shyly brushed against his own, the contact so brief it might have been a dream. It tasted of strawberry, of her perfume in summer. She quickly pulled back, red as if she had never kissed a boy before. You stole my first kiss. Ryan responded with false shock. I was saving myself for Felix. She exploded into laughter, and Ryan had never heard a more wonderful sound. He put his hand in her hair, and the other on her waist as he pulled her closer. He let Livia steal his second kiss, and then his third and fourth. Afterward, the burn on his chest ached, and she put a finger on his lips. We will take a bath together after patching you up, she said, her forehead against his own. I have a private spot in the resort. You will love it. Brain Dead should arrive today, Ryan pointed out. The plan was to torch the junkyard and bury the bunker's open entrance after the genius arrived, to make it look as if the metagang had fled the city. He will, but in the evening, Livia said, her voice soft and soothing. Until then, you are mine. He couldn't tell his lady no. Ryan offered Livia his arm as they exited the car, his girlfriend squeezed it tight. The mafia princess liked it very much when he played the gentleman. They bypassed the bouncers and took the elevator, Livia resting her head on her boyfriend's shoulder as they moved up the floors. After passing by marble corridors, the couple made their way into a mix between a parlor and a doctor's waiting room. Overstuffed, comfy leather chairs allowed one to rest while watching colorful tapestries and portraits of celebrities new and old. In fact, the staff included copies of Scarlett Johansson, Brad Pitt, and Leonardo DiCaprio, but though they had the actors' faces, they had none of the natural, easy charm. A tall man greeted them, an Italian George Clooney with familiar blue eyes and a white beard. "Livia," he said, wearing a black suit more expensive than most houses. Ryan immediately identified his voice as Mars, Adam, Kitty and Fortuna's father. "Who is this young, gallant man with you?" "Luca, this is my boyfriend, Ryan," Livia paraded the courier. "Ryan, this is Luca Verne, Fortuna's father." "My condolences," the courier said. "I admire your bravery, to have raised her without going mad. My wife bears the lion's share of the blame, as far as her education goes." If Mars was bothered to see his son's ex-girlfriend with another man, he didn't show it. In fact, he warmly shook Ryan's hand as if he were an old friend. "Does Giannis know?" Instead of answering, Ryan lifted his shirt to show the burns beneath, causing Mars to explode into laughter. "That's what I expected," he said. "I assume you came to see my wife to remove the scars." "Her, and Fortuna, if she is here," Livia said. "No, she said she's spending time with that mystery boyfriend of hers." Mars frowned at the couple. "Do you know if he has powers?" He didn't sound so friendly anymore. "He can disappear at will," Ryan said. "Though pigeons are his kryptonite." "Oh, good," Mars said, sounding greatly relieved. "Fortuna seems to be taking this relationship seriously, and I was worried that she might frequent the wrong kind of person." Livia answered with a forced smile. "I am not sure if he is the right person for her, but you know Fortuna, she does as she wills." "Like her brother," Mars said with a chuckle. "I wonder how Narcinia managed to turn out so dutiful with such unruly siblings." "Because you murdered her parents and abducted her as a babe," Ryan thought, Livia's arm tightening around his own. She had sensed his unease. "When is Narcinia returning from Ischia Island?" the princess asked Mars with courtesy. She probably already knew the answer with her power, but pretended not to for the sake of conversation. "It has been a long time since I met her. She will return on the 14th, to attend the meeting scheduled on the 15th. Mars glanced at Ryan, frowning upon realizing he knew what they were talking about. "Are you? You know, one of us?" "I cut horse heads for a living," the courier said, and to his joy Mars seemed to understand the reference. "They never run fast enough." "Will you make me an offer I cannot refuse?" Mars replied with a warm smile. "Perhaps we could invite you two for dinner, when Narcinia returns? She needs new friends closer to her age, and I think she will become fond of you, Ryan." "With pleasure," Livia replied with a smile, though her grip on Ryan's arm tightened. Mars took his leave afterward, pretending that he needed to attend to other business. Ryan on the comfy chair, and Livia on his lap. "Is this place bugged?" he whispered into his girlfriend's ear. "Yes, but not my sweet," she replied with the same low tone. "Wait a little." Andrea Jelani Verne, alias Venus, received them afterward in an immaculate surgery room. She was a beautiful woman in her early 40s, and a grown-up version of her daughter Fortuna. Clad in a regal white dress and keeping her golden hair braided, she wouldn't have looked out of place on a Playboy magazine's cover. Ryan noticed that she didn't have an operation table, simply a warm bed where the courier laid while the fashion model raised his shirt. Venus touched his chest with her thumb, and the burns vanished as if they had never existed in a green flash of light. "Done," Venus said with a professional smile. "I have a scar on my left butt cheek, can you remove it too?" Ryan asked. "No, I like it," Olivia said coyly, "I like the noise you make when I pinch it." Venus looked between the two of them, and unlike her husband, didn't hide her displeasure. "Do you have news of Felix?" she asked Livia, emphasizing the name. "No," Livia replied dryly, as Ryan put his shirt back on and returned to her side. "He will not come back." "Maybe he will," Venus said, eyeing Ryan warily. He could tell she would have preferred to have her own blood date Augustus heir, but she had no second son to offer. "Or if not, we will take him back." "When will your father give the order to destroy the mana decline once and for all?" "I do not know," Livia replied evasively, though Ryan knew she meant, "Never, if I have my way. But we can discuss that on the 15th. "Certainly," Venus replied with a smile Ryan found rather disturbing. "Will you take the lover's suite, as usual?" "Yes," Of course, Olivia said, to the older woman's displeasure. Venus gave them a keycard, and watched them leave the parlor in silence. Ryan could feel her glare on his back, and no doubt she already plotted to have him removed for usurping her son's position. Clearly, she was deadlier than her husband, but the courier had survived far worse. Olivia led him to a VIP suite on the 5th floor of the resort, a tastefully decorated apartment with its own private jacuzzi bath. The floor and walls were made of wood, but sleek, modern appliances were cleverly hidden in sliding compartments. Stained glass picture windows provided a marvelous view of New Rome's beaches and the sea beyond, while some of Olivia's paintings adorned the walls. Though Olivia insisted the place was safe, Ryan still took a moment to check the room for traps and bugs, but didn't find any. The jacuzzi's waters were warm when he slid naked inside them, his partner joining afterward. "I have the feeling we will end up glued together," Ryan said, once she sat between his legs, her back against his chest. She had kept the silver necklace on, which glittered with the sunlight outside. "Is it safe though? Venus might have infected me with a plague or something." "That's not how her power works," Olivia replied while bubbles rose to the water surface. Ryan had to admit it worked wonders to ease his sore muscles, after the beating he took from Augustus. "She is limited to superficial, aesthetic surgery modifications. She can reshape the skin, the eye colors, the hair, but not scramble your organs. But she could transform my lips and nose into a patch of skin, and asphyxiate me." "She could," she admitted, grinning at him. "But only if she maintains physical contact." "Good to know." "I don't want to go to that dinner," Olivia admitted, her head resting on Ryan's shoulder. "I adore Fortuna and Narcinia, don't get me wrong, but Venus will try to break us up and Mars will make racist remarks towards normies. You'll see." "Why accept the offer then? You don't need the parents. Fortuna couldn't stand her mother in particular, and Narcinia would probably follow suit upon learning the truth of her parentage. I mean, we could organize a party at Jamie's place and invite the Verne sisters there. I have to keep up appearances, if I am to inherit the organization and reform it," Olivia replied. "Mars and Venus are my father's followers, but I fear I pushed him hard enough as it is. A few smiles will buy us peace of mind." Ryan looked at her closely, and put his arms around her waist. He could tell she was thankful for the comfort. "Is this place a brothel, besides a luxury resort?" he asked her. Ryan had noticed copycats of actors chatting with clients in a way that seemed dubious. "This is the epicenter of New Rome's prostitution business." "Yes," Olivia said with a saddened frown. "Venus uses her powers to reshape faces and bodies, to cater to all tastes. Some people are willing to pay fortunes to sleep with their favorite actors. Or heroes. I heard the Wyvern double is very popular. Does Vulcan visit her often?" Olivia chuckled in response, but didn't answer. "Do you want me to destroy this place, like the Bliss Factory?" Her fingers brushed against her silver necklace, her face thoughtful. "Would you do it, if I asked?" "Yes." He nuzzled her cheek gently. "Olivia, I don't want you to wear a mask, not even at dinner. If this place and the people that run it make you unhappy, I can tear it down and free you from them." "Could you do that bloodlessly?" she asked, her gaze distant. "I can do anything, given time. But not without sacrifices from your part, and as I told you before, I won't have you martyr yourself for my sake." Olivia played with her hair. "Truth be told, I'm not sure what to do about this place. Evil things happen here, but most of the resort's activities are legitimate. What am I to do with the employees that work in the resort for an honest living? I don't want innocent people to lose their livelihood, Ryan. And what blood sacrifices take place behind closed doors? I know Venus and her husband use the place to get clients addicted to bliss, for a start," Olivia said grimly. "Or produce dirt and blackmail material. I have a cure for bliss addiction." Ryan had been considering introducing it to Ki-young, since she seemed to still struggle with the temptation. "You do?" Olivia asked, her eyes widening. "Endorphin blockers," Ryan said with a shrug. It was the solution he had found back when he ended up addicted to the stuff, back in an old loop. It's pretty easy to manufacture with the right equipment. You could create a rehab clinic. That's an interesting idea, but one that my father won't like one bit, Livia said with a frown. But I will keep it in mind. For now, we can focus on Narcinia's future. In the end, much like with Len, it all came down to her father. No matter the good Livia wanted to do, as long as Augustus lived, her family's honest activities would only be a smokescreen for Lightning Butt's insidious, insane goals. Much like how Bloodstream's embers of humanity had only served to hide the monster he had transformed into. There would come a time where Ryan would drag Mob Zeus and his so-called Olympians down from their mountain, to make sure they could no longer threaten anyone. For her sake. Chapter 102 The conquest of Mecron's mainframe could be summed up in one sentence. They came, they saw, they lucked out. That's painful to watch, Bianca said, as Ryan played a movie montage in the recreational area. He had set up a large screen TV near the bar, allowing Saren, Jean-Henri, and the orphaned children to watch the adventures of Lucky Girl in high definition. Shroud also talked to Fortuna away from the group, or rather at her. The Auguste scowled while petting a cleaned-up Henriette between the ears, and spoke one word for 10 of her boyfriends. As Ryan had expected, the living Lucky Charm had tremendously helped in accessing the bunker's mainframe. The Time Travelers Presidential Coalition had raided it as soon as Alcimo and his daughter arrived, with cameras catching everything. In the end, Ryan compiled the best bits for posterity. And what a collection it was! From laser guns blowing up in robots' faces, to friendly fire in the ceiling miraculously collapsing, this movie had it all. The children couldn't stop laughing. And now this is the best part, Ryan said, zooming at his favorite scene. Two one-eyed robots threatened Fortuna with a cannon weapon larger than they were inside a metal hall, the distance between the machines and the genome no more than 5 meters. This is a Gauss railgun. Mecron invented them to destroy aircrafts and battleships. The scene unfolded in slow motion, an electromagnetically accelerated 300 mm round surging through the air at a helpless Fortuna. Mecron's robots had used a weapon meant for battleships on a human being. And they missed. The projectile had curved in the air, and pierced the wall behind Fortuna. Although the impact threw metal splinters in all directions, they miraculously avoided Lucky Girl and turned her attackers to scraps. It had been the high point of Fortuna's luck streak. Afterward, though, Mecron's robots had figured out that 1, her power only affected events within a short range, less than a 10 meters radius, from what the courier had gathered so far, and 2, couldn't negate other genomes' powers. True, it could alter probabilities to make bullets miss, but it couldn't prevent Atom Cat's explosions for example. Ryan figured that Fortuna's power was the opposite of Pluto, altering this reality's causality to work in her favor instead of cursing a foe. With the keyword being this reality, Lucky Girl's divine protection couldn't interfere with powers from other colored worlds, only with their indirect consequences. Long-distance abilities could harm her. So instead of using submachine guns and normal weapons, the robots sent the telekinetic machine that splattered the rebellion during Ryan's first presidential mandate. The creature would have crushed Fortuna into mincemeat from a safe distance had the courier and the panda not intervened. And as it turned out, Mecron's bunker had more than one of such machines to throw at invaders. Though Ryan's group included heavy hitters such as Livia, Shroud, the panda, and other allies, it had been a close call in the end. "This is disgusting," Saren said at the scene. "Just disgusting. I'm afraid of scissors, and that girl. She just gets everything handed to her." She turned to face Fortuna. "How does it feel to have it all so easy?" "Oh." Fortuna raised her reddened eyes in confusion. She clearly hadn't slept in a while. "It's nice." Fortuna, her boyfriend, tried to speak. "Don't say a word to me." Fortuna's rebuke made Shroud flinch, which Ryan found very, very wrong. She had been in a foul mood even before the raid, but he had yet to see her truly angry. Henriette licked her hand, as the young woman petted the dog behind the ears. "At least you care." It seemed that Fortuna not only gave the cold shoulder to her one true love, but also transferred her affection to Henriette instead. She had cleaned the dirty dog and more or less adopted her. Ryan was tempted to question Livia about this, but his girlfriend had left to return to her father after providing Alcimo with the brain maps. The genius had accepted Ryan's story of time travel after analyzing his own memory map, and eagerly proceeded to operate on his daughter and Len both. He had said he could even improve the process further, though the courier didn't see her. "Could I see you for a minute?" Ryan gestured at Shroud, before grabbing a Jean Henry. "No invisibility please." The vigilante followed with a condemned man's enthusiasm, as Ryan led him into his bunker bedroom. "So, your luck has run out?" he asked his transparent friend, with a Jean Henry resting in the courier's arms. "We're having a bad time." "No kidding, a blind man could see it." "Thankfully, I have a long experience as a relationship counselor," Ryan said. "In the end, it's all about mommy issues, you'll see." "Was your mother a blue-eyed blonde too, like your girlfriend?" The vigilante marked a short pause, before reluctantly answering, "Yes." "See, in the end, it's always about sleeping with your mother. But they're nothing alike personality-wise. You tried to find the right balance between familiarity and newness, but we can explore the Freudian undertones later." Ryan introduced his favorite windshield to his bedroom. There was a small hole in the wall where the plushie had opened fire with the gravity gun. The inactive rabbit in question sat on a desk, surrounded by half-empty alcohol bottles and antidepressants. Ryan thought the sight would help with a counseling session. "Take the cat, and lay down on the bed." Shroud sounded highly skeptical of Ryan's credentials. "Why the cat?" "It's an integral part of the healing process," Ryan said before all but shoving a Jean Henry in his ally's arms. Shroud looked at the furball, who meowed in response, and couldn't resist. He laid down on the bed, the cat taking over his chest while Ryan sat on a nearby chair. "So, about that relationship." Shroud marked a short pause while Ryan remained silent. Nobody could resist trying to fill an embarrassing silence. "Promise me you will not crack a joke." "No more than 3, Ryan haggled. "I hate you." The patient sighed. "Fortuna and I had a date." Uh-huh. She invited me to her apartment. To show me her statue collection. She wanted to sculpt you like her French boys." A worrying thought crossed Ryan's mind. "Wait, are you naked beneath your glass costume? Would that mean you were technically flashing my cat right now?" Shroud marked a short pause, a Jean Henry sleeping peacefully on his chest. "I wear clothes beneath my costume." Ryan sighed. "Disappointing. In any case, Fortuna, how to say this? She needed a plumber, so you played Super Mario Party?" Ryan asked. "Did you get past the tutorial?" No, The vigilante's embarrassment told Ryan that he had nailed it. "We kissed but, when she started removing my clothes, I couldn't. I mean, yes, I was attracted to her, but not like this." "Not by lying?" the courier asked, sympathetic. There was a joke to make here, but he had enough respect for the couple to hold his tongue. Still, Shroud was okay with assassinating people, but not lying to the girl he was sleeping with. Where was the logic in that? Mistress Floyd let out a sigh. "I confessed." "Everything?" "No, of course not," Shroud replied angrily. "That would have been unprofessional. Transparency is key to a successful relationship." "I'm sure this cleared things up about where we stood," the vigilante deadpanned. "I told her that I came to New Rome to strike at the Augusti Syndicate, and that I was always around to accidentally protect her from dangers because I caused them in the first place." Ryan couldn't fault Fortuna for giving her boyfriend the cold shoulder, after learning he had attempted to assassinate her and others. "She hasn't blown the whistle on you, though?" "I told her that I thought she was a merciless killer like her teammates, before seeing her in action changed my mind, and that I put a halt to the sabotage campaign," Shroud replied. "She started defending the Augusti, and when I listed all the people her father Mars had murdered over his career, she denied everything and told me to storm off. I almost did, but the door and curtains wouldn't open. In the end, I slept on the couch, and she has given me the cold shoulder ever since. If her power is still trying to set up romantic situations, then this ship hasn't sunk yet. Shouldn't it? Shroud asked with a sigh. I mean, I'm starting to grow fond of her, against my better judgment, but she is in complete denial about her organization's true nature. I should have pushed her away more firmly and focused on the Michio. Stop right here, Sajnik, you're parking in a no-emo zone, Ryan interrupted him. If you go on about how you should have dedicated your heart to darkness or put the mission above everything, I'm kicking you off of this team. But what if she tells her parents? Shroud snapped back. What if she blows the whistle about this place, about us? I'm not even sure why she hasn't already. Because her brother told her similar things when he left, and it's eating away at her. Ryan suspected that deep down, Fortuna had some doubts about her parents' true nature and that of her associates. But it would take a shock like Pluto ordering a hit on her brother to wake her up. Did you tell her the truth about her sister? No. Maybe I should. Too much, too soon, Ryan said. I'll consult Livia. Lucky Girl would react better to the truth if it came from her best friend's mouth. The vigilante sighed in defeat. I should take the hint and break it off. Her power has a shorter range than mine, it can't force us to spend time together if I stay away. I knew that from the start, and I shouldn't have let it progress this far. Livia and I threatened each other the first time we had a heartfelt conversation, and I think we are building something solid now, Ryan replied with a shrug. Give Fortuna time to digest the truth and this relationship another chance. Her guardian angel wouldn't work so hard to keep you two together if it didn't feel you would make a good couple. And I don't think you would have stayed with that working rabbit's foot if a part of you didn't like her. Shroud scoffed, a Jean Henry snoring on his chest. I like her, quick save, but not enough to let her parents get away with their crimes. There was a loop where she understood their true nature, Ryan said, though he had no wish to repeat that one. The sight of Fortuna bleeding to death in her brother's arms still haunted him. Maybe she will get it this time around too. It's too early to choose yet, my translucent friend. Once things are clearer, you can decide for yourself whether you want to pursue her or call it off. Shroud patted the cat. You aren't half bad as a therapist. Do you want to talk about your daddy issues while we're at it? I'm on a streak lately. I'll pass. Getting his feelings off his chest made Shroud relax, so the two genomes left Jean Henry to sleep and moved to the laboratories below. By the time they reached the infirmary, Alchimo had finished Len's memory transfer. The communist genius was talking with the doll, while Alchimo and the panda conversed with Stitch. The carnival's genius had arrived roughly at the same time as Braindead and his daughter, to remove the bloodstream strain inside Len and work on a vaccine. With access to Micron's database and laboratories, Ryan had put Dr. Tyranno and Stitch in contact, and the two had hit it off well from what he had heard. Of course, the carnival doctor hadn't been happy to work with someone responsible for infecting New Rome with a sleeping bloody plague, but decided to make the most of the situation. 3 geniuses and a half in one room, Ryan said as he and Shroud joined the group. You should form a think tank. Am I the half, Sifu? The panda asked. Truthfully, you might become a de facto genius in time, Stitch replied, scribbling notes in a journal. Ryan had learned the plague doctor usually preferred to work on paper rather than computers, for reasons the courier couldn't explain. Since our science can be replicated. In the span of 2 days, Ryan's Panda 1 had learned the equivalent of 2 doctorates in medical science and chemistry, 5 master's degrees, and 8 languages, including Chinese, Basque, Inuit, and even the Braille writing system. Though he was no true genius, he could serve as a very effective lab assistant. Are you all right, Shorty? Ryan asked his old friend. I'm fine. Len scratched her head. It's strange. I remember some days happening in 2 different ways, rather than one. I am not sure which of them is the correct one. Is that always the case for you? Yes, but usually with thousands of variations instead of one. Sometimes the time traveler forgot which one he validated for his perfect run. Was that what you meant about improving the memory transfer? Ryan asked Alchimo. Yes, memories coexisting rather than a straight override, the genius shrugged. I struggle to find a workaround for your pet psychosarin though. I work best with nerves, not gaseous molecules. Shroud crossed his arms, appraising Alchimo closely. According to QuickSave, you are a brain genius, he said, his voice hesitant. Ryan could tell he had been through many false hopes, and thus remained cautious. Could you heal a woman with severe brain damage? That depends, Alchimo said, ever the opportunist. How much is she worth? The doll pinched the genius metal arm. Dad, we spoke about this before. Ugh, you will be the death of me, Brain Dead complained, but gave in quickly. He could never say no to his daughter. I can treat dementia, Alzheimer's, all sorts of brain damage. Give me that woman's medical data, and I shall see what I can do. Shroud bowed in deep gratitude. You have my most sincere thanks. Don't thank me, thank my naive daughter and her bleeding heart. The doll smiled in response. Dad, one day you will understand that helping others is a reward in itself. Can you eat happiness? Alchimo replied with a cranky tone. Or sell it? I would be interested in cooperating with you in the long term, Stitch said. We geniuses have extensive knowledge, but only in a narrow field. I believe we could achieve greater things together than separately. We complete parts of a larger sequence. Indeed, Ryan had had the same idea with Nora. He could already see the synergies she would form with Shorty to develop underwater cities. About cooperation, how is our vaccination campaign going? The courier asked, Len looking away. I already created a formula based on the information you on this strange-scaled doctor provided, Stitch answered, showing Ryan his notes. Once distributed in the population through airborne means, it should spread through Rome in days and Europe in weeks. Good. And bliss. I have studied your proposed cure, and I believe I could develop a viral version, yes. A nervous system suppressant alongside endorphin blockers would prevent the physiological and psychological addiction. Nothing revolutionary, Alchimo complained, slightly jealous Ryan had achieved something in his domain of expertise. I could make something similar. Even solve the fertility issues. Ryan deadpanned. PFF, if you ask me it's an improvement. But so long as the Augusti possess a superlab, they can make new bliss strains, Shroud pointed out grimly. A cure will cripple their business in the short term, but not forever. Indeed, Lightning Butt and Bacchus had the resources to create new drugs, given time. Ryan doubted the superlab's destruction would stop them either. The loss of bliss would be a heavy blow to the Augusti's crime empire, but not a fatal one. They needed to take out the key figures in the criminal syndicate, to clear the way for Olivia to reform it. The courier quickly noticed Len's unease, and changed the subject. Shorty, can I talk to you for a second? His best friend answered with a short nod, and they walked away to a more private room. The same one where Big Fat Adam had once interrogated Ryan, in fact. How do you feel? The time traveler asked, before adding with more hesitation. About your father. I feel the same, she answered grimly. Nothing's changed. As Ryan had worried. He would have hoped that whatever bloodstain her father left in Len's body had brainwashed her, forcing his daughter to love him. It would have made everything so much easier. Since you have the memories of both this loop and the previous one, then you understand what happened. He killed me. Len didn't cry, though her voice was bitter and sad. Ryan, you've seen him. Is there any hope for him? I don't think so, Ryan admitted. He's closer to a virus than a man now, and I don't think he's even self-aware anymore. Killing him would be mercy. She took a long, deep breath. That day, the reason I didn't run away with you was because there was a chance he could improve. No matter how slim. If. Len struggled to articulate her thoughts, and Ryan waited patiently. If. I can only agree to do this if my real father is already dead, truly dead. Len crossed her arms and looked down at the cold steel floor. If there is still a chance we can cure him, bring the human out. There wasn't any, but Ryan knew Len needed more time to accept it. She hadn't witnessed her father's state personally, as her memory map had been recorded before the Dynamis raid. "Shorty, a long time ago, I made a decision for the both of us, and I've paid the price ever since," the courier declared. "You know where I stand as far as your father is concerned, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over while expecting different results. This time, we'll make the decision together." "Not now, Riri," she said upon raising her eyes, her face pleading. "Not now. I need more time. It's too big a decision to make now." "I understand," he replied. "We can delay the Dynamis raid for later. We'll use this loop to test the vaccine, gather information, and find a cure for the psycho condition. So what's the plan?" "This place won't stay hidden forever, Riri. Someone will talk. After we deal with the Bliss Factory, we'll have to skip town to avoid Lightning Butt's retaliations. We'll blow up the bunker on our way out, and move to the one place where we could find the cure for the psycho condition. Its source." With the bunker's mainframe under their control, Ryan could also now recreate the Saturn armor, and finally get to the bottom of his new ability. Len nodded. "Antarctica. We'll make a stop near Monaco on the way," Ryan said with a grin. "There are people there that I haven't visited in a while. It would make for a nice holiday." A smile appeared at the edge of Len's lip, but it was soon drowned by sadness. "Shorty? I heard you talk with Livia through the chrono radio." Len bit her lower lip. "You're dating her?" It was more of a statement than a question. She's good for me. I can't explain it." Ryan scratched the back of his neck. "Like, she confiscated all the combat drugs I kept in my car. When I said I only use them for suicide runs, she replied, 'Yes, that's the problem. It reinforces your belief that you throw your life away, and that's not good for your mental health.' She's not wrong." "Yeah, it made sense in hindsight," Ryan replied. "At one point in time, I didn't care about dying. It was part of the fun, but now I do mind." Ryan didn't want to die anymore. He wanted to spend lifetimes with Livia, with Len, with the friends he had made along the way. Short, adrenaline-rushed loops were fun, but they were like drug injections. They only served to dull the pain. They were a crutch, and wouldn't help him heal. Eventually, Len nodded to herself. She's good for you, I agree. I can see that. She's helping you get better, like you do with me. But you would have preferred something else. I said things couldn't go back to how they were, so I can't fault you for moving on. We're family now, and you deserve someone who makes you happy. You'll find someone too, Ryan said. The world is full of wonderful people. Maybe I'm not the right person for you anymore, but somewhere, there is one that fits the bill. Perhaps, she replied, and for once she sounded cautiously optimistic. I've lived in the past for so long, because I was scared. Scared of being hurt again. But seeing you happier, and not just with Livia, it gets me thinking. Len smiled. Maybe there's hope for the world, and me too. I should look forward, not backward. It was time for both of them to move on. Together. Chapter 103. It was May 14th in New Rome, and a handsome secret agent flew above the Mediterranean Sea. The wind brushing against his mask and magician's hat, Ryan peeked over his jetpack to look at Vulcan. The genius was hot on his trail, piloting her slow, bulky mech. Come on, you aren't even trying. The courier taunted his favorite dwarf over the intercom. It was the second round of the race, and she couldn't catch up to him. Then again, your mom was so slow, it took her 9 months to make a joke. The only slow thing will be your death when I catch up to you. Vulcan snarled back as she accelerated, her mech thrumming like a supercharged car. Both contestants flew so close to the sea level that they blew water in all directions as they passed. In spite of her threat though, Ryan maintained a decent lead as they toured Ishi Island. Iron walls and wind turbines surrounded the radioactive dump, keeping the toxic purple miasma safely contained. Hidden turrets rose from the shoreline and pointed at the flyers, though their maker prevented them from opening fire at Ryan on sight. "Why doesn't your hat fall off?" Vulcan asked. "It's magnetized." It came in handy for someone like Ryan, who favored acrobatics and explosions in his fights. "Also, you're so slow, you make the post office look efficient. You're so fast, your girlfriend is always left disappointed." Ouch, Lobo. This meant war. "Oh look, a wyvern." Ryan pointed a finger at an empty spot of water on his left. To his amusement, Vulcan did cock her head in the direction. "Where?" she asked, before realizing her mistake. "You bastard, you will die for this." Ryan laughed, only for Vulcan to actually open fire with a volley of missiles. The courier had to freeze time to dodge them all. "You bastard, you cheated." His rival complained when time resumed. "We said only tech." "I lied." Ryan cackled like a maniac. "I lied about everything." The two contestants finished their tour of the island and came into view of the Castello Aragonese, that old fortress which Augustus refitted into a bliss superlab. The powerful stone fortress's walls oversaw the sea from atop a volcanic islet and a garden of alien plants. The ghostly skull of Geist appeared for a brief moment above the castle when the racers approached. A tornado of colored dust carried the house-sized apparition, and started strong winds slowing down the contestants. "Come to see me win?" Ryan shouted as loud as he could, barely dodging a seagull. "Damn bird traffic." To his surprise, Casper the Ghost apparently listened. "You better," the specter replied with a casual voice, though it somehow carried across the waves. "I bet on you." Huh? So not only could that flying skull manifest anywhere on the island, but it also had sharp senses and could detect people in the area. This ruined Ryan's original plan, but the courier was nothing if not adaptable. Geist had bet wisely. For all the Vulcan attempted to blast him at the last second with a crimson beam of light, the courier passed over the fortress first. There was a coming short joke to make, but Ryan was too tall to make it. "Damn it!" Vulcan snarled. "Damn it, damn it, damn it. Where did you find that jetpack?" "In Mecran's bunker." "In a cave, in a box of scraps." "The Princess Wet Cave?" "Damn, news travel fast." "I took shelter from a thunderstorm inside," Ryan said, as they began another turn around the island. "Wait, is tomorrow's meeting about my execution?" Tomorrow was the Olympians' meeting, which should end up with Zamboto confirmed as the new Mercury. Jamie hadn't organized a welcome party this time around, perhaps because Ryan had spent most of his time with Livia? And with nothing to distract her, Vulcan had decided to check up on the Bliss Island's defenses today. It cost the courier an A-bomb and advanced technology to get into her good graces, but the genius eventually invited him to participate in the inspection. Truthfully, Ryan suspected Vulcan wanted to impress him with her technology. She wanted him as a lab assistant, but the courier had defended his independence and maintained a professional distance. Sort of. He assumed jetpack races counted as a team-building activity. "Could be," Vulcan replied, still sore over her defeat. "How much to spare your pretty head?" "And a bomb?" Ryan haggled. "Bloody or extra crispy?" "Already got one, and prices are up." "I guess you'll die." "If they vote yes, can I die buried in pizzas?" Ryan didn't think he had died that way yet. At least not with 4 cheeses. "Erkiskas?" "I can arrange death by waffles," Vulcan joked back. Ryan had missed trading jabs with her. He had thought he would find the inspection agonizing, but to his surprise, he could interact with Vulcan without experiencing depressing flashbacks now. Perhaps it was his newfound desire to move on, or his elixir's advice finally sinking in. Ryan would always cherish his Jasmine's memories, like all the relationships erased by his power, but he no longer lived in its shadow. And neither did the current Vulcan. He could finally befriend her without comparing her to her past self. "No, seriously, I'd blow you a chef's kiss," Vulcan said, her mech mimicking the gesture. "I didn't think anyone would be mad enough to make a move on Augustus' daughter. You won't live long, but I'll come to your funeral." "Eh? Going by Casper the Ghost over here, heaven has a revolving door." Ryan chuckled. "How did you know?" Vulcan shrugged. "Some of the staff members saw you kiss Minerva at Venus Resort, and spread the word. I guess Augustus couldn't kill the leakers fast enough. I thought paparazzi were an extinct species? Not for a lack of trying, no." The duo reached the Bliss Superlab again, flying over the outer walls and towards a helicopter platform. Vulcan's mech caused the entire fortress to shake as it landed, while Ryan crossed his arms and did his best to look good as his feet touched the ground. When they arrived, armored soldiers were busy boarding a group of 3 armed helicopters and checking up on their weapons. Bacchus oversaw the operation with his hands behind his back, while young Narcinia waited alongside him while holding a flower bouquet. Ryan couldn't resist examining it, and he didn't recognize half of the plants. Some were roses with petals of multiple colors, others fusions of lilies of the valley and yellow daisies. The colors mixed in a tasteful display for the eyes, and the smell was almost divine. "You like it, quick save?" Narcinia asked him shyly, her brown hair flowing with the ocean wind. Her heart-shaped face was so unlike her adopted family, Ryan wondered why Venus didn't change it. Perhaps Narcinia's power interfered with her adoptive mother's. "I made it for Mom and Dad. She should have added some hemlock and nightshade then." "It's delightful," Ryan said from the bottom of his heart. "But do they sing?" "Sing? You can make any form of life from what I heard, so why not flowers that can sing?" Ryan asked mirthfully. "Make them edible, so you have the full sensory package," Vulcan snickered, her armor towering over the duo. "You can't eat flowers," Narcinia protested. "But singing flowers? That's a nice idea. I could have them blow colored fumes while they sing too." She turned to Bacchus. "What song would you like, Father Torque?" Andreas Torque, alias Bacchus, turned his gaunt face at his small protege. His eyes were as black and lifeless as coal, and Ryan had yet to see him blink. One could almost see the bones beneath his priestly garbs. All in all, the man reminded the courier of a walking corpse. Gregorian chants, to soothe the soul. And bliss for the fumes, to have a good time. Vulcan deadpanned. Narcinia bristled a bit at that, clearly not very proud of working on making drugs. "Don't listen to him, he's behind the times," Ryan told Narcinia. "When in doubt, choose synthwave." "I don't know that music genre," Narcinia said. "The poor naive child." "I will teach you, and the meaning of life as well," the courier replied. "This reminds me, I will not be available for Venus dinner," Bacchus said with his soft, calm voice. "I shall return to Ischia after meeting with our fellow Olympians." Narcinia didn't hide her disappointment. "My mother won't like it, Father Torque. We are on the verge of a breakthrough series," the priest chided her. "Idleness is the enemy of progress. It is not wise to make God wait." It's probably vibing in its blue world," Ryan said while testing the waters. "It knows you will reach it in time, like it knows everything else." That was a pure bluff and speculation, based on the courier's knowledge of the Ultimate Ones, their dimensions, and what Livia had told him. Yet he hit the mark, for the priest's head snapped in Ryan's direction so fast that the courier worried he might break his neck. "Have you reached heaven?" Bacchus asked, his black eyes peering into Ryan's soul. The stare's sheer intensity might have made a younger man crumble to his feet in penance, but the courier had faced far worse. Still, the priest's presence made him feel uneasy. In a way, Bacchus reminded Ryan of Bloodstream. The courier could sense the madness festering beneath the lucidity. "No, but I'm trying to find a way in." "So am I," the priest stated with a hint of enthusiasm. It must have been gratifying to meet someone who validated his beliefs. "I am close." "Pray harder," Vulcan snickered. Clearly, she didn't think much of the priest's delusions. "Look, I'm very busy and this security inspection was a waste of my valuable time. Let's escort you back on the mainland and be done with it." "There is no rush," Bacchus replied calmly, before putting a hand on Narcinia's shoulder. "Go climb in the helicopter, I will be with you in a minute." "Yes, Father Torque," the young teen nodded, while Vulcan grumbled. Bacchus took Ryan aside for a short talk, the two walking along the walls of Castle Aragonese. The priest didn't take his eyes off the courier for 1 second, examining him with a quizzical look. "Your name is Quicksave, correct?" "I'm immortal, but don't tell anyone." Andreas Tork observed Ryan without a word, studying him. He was probably trying to remember every tidbit of information he might have had on the courier, but came up short. He would certainly question the other Olympians at the meeting and investigate the time traveler afterward. "How did you find your faith?" Bacchus asked. "There must be a fascinating story behind your quest." "I have been to hell before, so I figured I should check out the other place," Ryan joked. "A worthwhile goal, but I require a straight answer." Ryan could tell this man could smell falsehoods like Luigi, and he didn't even need a power to do so. "Well, Father." The courier looked around himself as fearing he would be overhead, before whispering into the priest's ears. "I have met a local. A local. From these higher dimensions." Bacchus' eyes seemed to shine for a brief instant. "How?" An elixir opened the gate for a brief moment. That was only half a lie too. A deity lurked on the other side. It seemed we shared similar revelations then. Bacchus shivered in pleasure, as if reliving the moment. "I only tasted heaven once, when I consumed my elixir, and I have yearned to return to it ever since." Ryan remembered his brief stay inside the black world, and what Bloodstream once told him about the green hell he had glimpsed in his dreams so many years ago. Back then, the courier had thought it was mere delusions, but now, he understood that his adoptive father had observed the green world. From what the time traveler gathered, the colored dimensions exerted a powerful hold on genomes. The ultimate ones attracted lesser beings to them like a moth to a flame. The priest must have contacted the blue ultimate one, which permanently affected his mind. "I have been investigating these higher realms since, Father," Ryan said, trying to play on the priest's obsession. "When I saw this deity, it was bliss beyond words. An ascension to a higher state of being. So you understand how I feel." Bacchus nodded slowly. To be on the verge of becoming something more than human, only to be returned to this sinful, imperfect world. It is maddening. "So, I have been researching the alchemist," Ryan said, cutting straight to the chase. "I thought only she might answer my questions. Clearly, she created elixirs to establish bridges with gods. To make us divine. That was Eva Faber's goal indeed." The shadow of a smile appeared on Bacchus' face. "A true prophet. I mistook her for the devil, but now I see that she was the Lord's tool on earth. A visionary. I only met her once, but she left quite the mark." Ryan could see that. "When did you see her?" "On last Easter. I had been tracking her for years, back when she was refining the holy elixirs for the sake of us all. She vanished after enlightening me." "She's hiding beneath the snow," Ryan said. "I know she has a base in Antarctica. Station Orphan." Bacchus shook his head. "You are mistaken. We sent people there and they found nothing. The station has been emptied for more than a decade, ever since a violet flash was seen above its skies." "A violet flash?" If the alchemist had access to advanced technology, then she could easily hide a base in a pocket dimension or a similar place. Maybe even hide it in plain sight. The Augustine didn't have the means to detect such an anomaly, but Ryan could probably find an entrance. "Do you have the coordinates of that pilgrimage site, Father?" He did, and could quote it from memory. Ryan folded it in a corner of his mind. "If you wish, I could involve you in our new Bliss-Trains test trials," Bacchus said. "This will let us contact God. I can feel it in my bones. This long tribulation is finally nearing its end. I would rather avoid the sterility that comes with it. I thought God said we should be fruitful and multiply." "That part is Augustus' will, without which he would not have sponsored the project," Bacchus said, though he clearly had no problem with sterilizing a large part of the population. "God put him on earth to separate God's chosen from the unworthy. Not everyone may ascend, and Bliss will sort them out." If Ryan had any hesitation left about destroying that lab, the priest just destroyed them. The courier glanced at the specter of Geist floating above the fortress, his grinning skull watching the sea. How far could he sense invaders? For the operation's sake, Ryan hoped that it wasn't much. "There's little time left to discuss the matter," Bacchus said, Vulcan gesturing him to climb inside the helicopter. "But once I am done with more secular matters, we will delve into the higher mysteries together. I am sure we can help each other." Bacchus boarded one of the helicopters at last, the vehicles flying away from the island with Ryan and Vulcan on their tail. The priest and Narcinia never crossed the sea without heavy escort, perhaps in case Wyvern or members of Illinois Meliori decided to ambush them. Ryan knew nothing would happen. Though the party at Jamie's place didn't take place this time around, the priest and Narcinia had made their way to the meeting without incident and previous loops. With the metagang shattered, no one would interfere. No one but Ryan. The courier half considered having the priest perish in a tragic accident, but he traveled in the same helicopter as Narcinia. Besides, slaying a priest wouldn't have been very Catholic. "Permission to return and laze around at home, Herr General?" Ryan asked Vulcan over the intercom, as they crossed the sea and the helicopters landed safely near the old harbor. "Permission to get out of my sight granted, minion," Vulcan said, before adding, "Come check out my lab tomorrow, after the reunion. You're wasted on the field." She wouldn't give up on that internship offer. "I'll consider it," Ryan lied. Vulcan grunted and flew away, back to her base. Instead of returning home though, the courier deviated from his course the moment he was out of sight. He turned his jetpack towards the sea and Ischia Island, careful to fly low enough to avoid notice by eyes and radars both. "They're gone," Ryan said over the intercom. "Where are you?" 400 meters northeast, Shorty answered. The courier quickly reached the meeting point, a solitary rock rising from the sea close to Ischia Island. The Mecran submarine's periscope looked over the water, with part of the tower staying hidden behind the stone. Shorty and Siren waited on it with an enormous suitcase, while Ryan noticed the edge of Shroud's glass armor, as sea droplets hit its transparent surface. "Right on time," Ryan said as he landed on the submarine's tower and set aside his jetpack. "It should just be Geist, turrets, and mooks now. Just an invincible ghost and a few hundred men, you mean?" Siren grumbled angrily. She hadn't been on board with the plan, and went along only because Ryan's think tank had made progress on the cure. "What about the security system?" Shroud asked. "Vulcan showed me the defensive turret's location, but she wouldn't let me inside the fortress." The genius was fond of Ryan, but didn't fully trust him either. "I to have information about what's inside, including a map. And all it cost you was sleeping with the enemy?" The invisible vigilante mused. "Indeed, it was Livia who provided them. Unfortunately, even with your girlfriend's intel, I cannot hack into Vulcan's security system, or at least not without alerting her of my attempt. I will need to access terminals inside the fortress." "We are taking huge risks," Riri, Len said. She trusted him enough to follow his lead, but remained uneasy. Even without Bacchus, the lab is defended by soldiers in power armor, automated defenses, genomes, and a ghost. One couldn't forget the ghost. In the end, Geist was the island's true line of defense, a genome of incredible power that almost nobody could harm, let alone kill. But thankfully, the Spectre couldn't hunt multiple places at once. "There won't be a better opportunity," Ryan argued. Tomorrow morning, the Augustes High Command would be hours away, too far away to intervene. "A night is a long time," Siren said grimly. "You said you could reform in that time," Len pointed out. "I should, since these fucking turbines blow gas within the island and condense it," Siren replied angrily. "But I still hate it. If you don't give me back my suit afterward, I'm killing you myself. See the bright side. When you've opened a breach, you'll get your own power armor," Ryan reassured her, before opening the briefcase and looking at his own suit. The Auguste knew quicksave. But they didn't know Saturn. Ryan hoped that Siren's presence would deceive Mob Zeus, make him believe the Meta Gang were still active in sabotaging his operations. Livia would help sell her father the lie, giving the group some precious respite before Lightning Butt inevitably tracked them down. After the loss of his superlab, he would stop at nothing to find the responsible party. Len helped her best friend put on the Saturn armor, Ryan delighting as she draped a cashmere poncho on his shoulder. The courier had used the data gathered in the previous loop to improve on the power armor's design, replacing the chest cannon with a modified variant of Adam's gravity rifle, improving the flight systems, and reinforcing the parts which Lightning Bud had managed to breach. The courier also invested heavily in radiation and heat shielding, in preparation for a new confrontation with Fallout. He had forgotten to add a proton pack though, which would have come in handy with Geist. Once the armor was operational, Ryan activated his power. Time froze to a halt, black and purple particles floating around the courier. A violet ghost raced after him, his past self trying to catch up to the present. Ryan immediately noticed something new. There's more than before. One loop ago, the black flux particles were nothing but black spots among fireworks of purple. Ryan had to focus to notice them. Now they had turned into a small oil spill on a violet sea. His black power, whatever it was, had grown stronger. How? Did it leech off some of Fallout's radioactive energies during their last confrontation? Darkling could remember things across multiple loops, so Black Flux probably ignored the usual rules of Ryan's time travel. Or perhaps it had fed on the previous loop's destruction? In this case, each reset should strengthen the ability. What did it even do? If it could damage Lightning Bud, could it do the same with Geist? Could it kill the unkillable? I wish I could have Darkling on speed dial, Ryan complained as time resumed. Is everyone ready? The plan was for Saren to infiltrate the island in gaseous form, which would confuse even Geist, and then sabotage key defenses during the night. Ryan and co would then attack the lab on the next day while Lightning Bud held court, scrambling communications to prevent the Auguste from calling for help. If all went well, Ryan might repeat the operation in his perfect run. Almost, Shroud said, turning visible while looking at the open sea. A friend insisted on coming when I said we were chasing ghosts. A friend? From the carnival? Ryan didn't hide his skepticism. Trust me, if Lightning Bud sees sunshine anywhere near his mountain, then it will be New Rome's last sunrise. Leo is hunting the other Mechrim bases as we speak, though the teammate in question is twice as flamboyant. Flamboyant? Ryan's heart skipped a beat, as he looked at the sea with hope. Could it be? Could it be? His maddest prayers were soon answered, as a ray of crimson light racing on the water itself. Only a man capable of stopping time could witness the pure perfection of a human-shaped laser racing across the sea, as fast as light itself. In the blink of an eye, the newcomer had crossed the sea and stopped within a few inches of the child he had saved many years ago. Unlike Ryan, the man hadn't changed across the centuries, his body a solid wavelength, his suit perfect in its vibrant colors and tasteful elegance. Jesus could walk on water, the man said, but only because he learned the trick from. Ryan held his breath, as his favorite superhero put his hands on his waist, showing the purity of his showy, bright cashmere suit. Mr. Wave. Ryan squeaked like a rabid fangirl, much to his team's embarrassment. Tope continued. Thanks for listening.